It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
All right, SKOR North Twins Show extra innings live from Target Field. Declan Goff, AJ Fredrickson back in the Fridley Studios, his Fridley Studios. Hit the like button, subscribe button for SKOR North Twins Show content. We're nearing the end of the season. Twins on life support, now needing a lot of help after falling out of being a 95% chance team to make the playoffs. They need to go probably 4-1. Also need some help with Seattle's and Kansas City's. Detroit's probably locked up a spot, but they need some help. And they need to win games against a team that has 99 losses in the Miami Marlins. So let's get into it here on SKOR North Extra Innings. Earlier today, Mackie Judd, myself on the flagship show, we kind of discussed Carlos Correa's comments yesterday, Age, who kind of called out some of the younger players for the lack of urgency and the lack of preparation and the lack of maybe not taking the right precautions to prepare yourself for a game, and obviously also with your season on the line, which was a very, very interesting time to use those type of comments. Now, Carlos Correa, a very decorated player. He's been to World Series. He's won a World Series. He's legitimately one of the best postseason hitters of all time. Yes, he was part of a clubhouse that was part of one of the biggest cheating scandals in baseball, but at the end of the day, he knows what it takes to win, and he is the de facto captain of this team. So when he says those things, they obviously carry some significant weight. He's also very good at being kind of politician-like with those comments, because it took about 4 or 5 questions in for him to kind of drop that bombshell, and it took a little bit more prying for him to reveal some of that information. So today, kind of been surveying the clubhouse, asking what people thought of those comments. Rocco even addressed some of the comments. And from the Rocco side of things, he said, it is the manager and the coach's job to kind of prepare those young guys. Yes, some of those duties end up falling on veteran players and falling on older players to set the tone, but at the end of the day, it's my job to make sure that those guys are prepared. I don't think, by the way, that Rocco was perturbed by Correa's comments about the younger players. But speaking even to Royce Lewis pregame, he even said, I don't think he's talking about me, but if he is, it's obviously it feels a little hurtful, a little interesting time to do that. I don't believe this has caused a rift by any means between players in the clubhouse, but it was interesting because there are some players here that are playing a bunch of baseball games for the first time for an extended period of time in their careers. The Royce Lewises of the world, the Brooks Lees. Trevor Larnach has been in professional baseball for a long time, but he's obviously been up here for a full time. It was a very interesting comment by Correa, who also, missed a chunk of time with an injury, to probably drop that bombshell on it. I'm sure it doesn't necessarily sit great with everyone, but it was interesting to hear that, and I don't think, by the way, that he's wrong. Like, there's a bunch of younger guys here who haven't played this many games before. Baseball's a long season; it catches up to you. But it was interesting that he chose, I think, last night to drop that comment after losing to a team that has 99 losses and the Twins' playoff chances, which are slowly slipping away.
Yeah, and I mean, frustration at those type of comments maybe bubble after a loss like that. What I will say is that reminds me of, remember the Titans when they're at the camp and in the first half of the movie, and Herman Boone takes them through the run through Gettysburg, and they come to the clearing, or it's after practice. Gary Bertier pulls Julius Campbell aside, and you're wasting your talent, all this stuff, and you're the captain of this team, blah blah blah. Julius Campbell flips it back on him. Well, I might have a bad attitude, but attitude is reflected by the leadership, captain. So Carlos Correa, de facto captain. Maybe the attitude isn't the problem here, but you're saying it's more the preparation and everything like that. How about you show these guys? You've been here before. You can only, frankly, you have guys in the minor leagues who are hoping the season it wraps up sooner than later, and they're getting cut for it and giving signs away. Obviously, that's a once in a blue moon thing, because most guys are striving to be at this professional level and playing 162 games with the big club. But you have to take that role, and maybe it's a walk in the park for you at this point in your career, Carlos, but you should be pulling some of these other guys aside saying, hey, you know what? I noticed maybe you left the field a little early coming back into the clubhouse before today's game. We're deep into the August, early September games here. here's what you probably should be doing. Take another 15 minutes, stretch it out a little bit more, this type of thing. Get, hey, I noticed that you've been struggling at the plate lately. There's that fatigue that comes in. And sometimes we can speculate as fans, as in your case, the beat podcast reporters of, is this guy hurt? Is he laboring with something? Because a lot of guys will sacrifice the body in a sense to play hurt rather than take themselves out injured. But at the same time, it could just be fatigue because it's a long season. It's full of ups and downs in baseball. So if you want to go ahead and help these guys out, you helping them out is pulling them aside and having those conversations. And it's not just all on him, because it is on the Buxtons. It is on he can't, obviously relate to the pitching staff as well, but that's where you need to have a Lopez pull some of those guys aside and say, hey, here's where maybe you should be going about things differently, because I've been here before in these deep months, and you're 1 in every 5 days seems to come up a little bit quicker or something like that, and you maybe don't have that full arm. It's not a rift. It's I think probably at the end of the day, this is more of a throwaway. We realize things are bad right now and we recognize the spot we're in, but I would like to maybe hear a guy like Carlos Correa take a little, I'm not saying maybe it is him, but I take some more accountability. I don't like that deflecting of the young guys here. For a lineup that usually night in and night out, I think, consists more so of those veteran guys, it's weird to call out the minority of the younger guys that are in the clubhouse saying, they're not preparing well enough for this portion of the season. That's where you need to step in, Carlos.
Yeah, and look, I think Correa does do a good job of pulling those guys aside. We even see times in game where he pulls a guy aside between an at-bat and tells them what's happening here with this pitcher. Mm-hmm. And Correa even addressed yesterday that, look, eventually I can pull guys aside as much as I want, or as any of these veterans want, but it has to get through to them by their own. And mm-hmm. Every generation becomes different. It's always one generation fighting after the younger generation. That's just a tale as old as time. But it is weird that I think some of these younger guys just haven't been able to prepare. It's one thing if one of these dudes is not pulling his weight, but it's interesting to me that you have guys that have been kind of criticized before, like in Royce Lewis and even Brooks Lee, who are obviously highly touted picks and highly touted cornerstone players that have already been criticized for it. And look, you're going to learn as a young guy. So it is natural, I think, to have some speed bumps or some hiccups in how you prepare every day. I mean, you don't just waltz into the clubhouse and all of a sudden, I think Carlos Correa was like that, and that's the anomaly. I think Carlos Correa, who he is now, I think he's been like that his entire life. And just hearing some stuff behind the scenes even of who he was, because remember, he was the first pick. He went the pick right before Byron Buxton, and the Twins have the top 2 picks in that draft on this team. Carlos Correa was always like that. So I think that's just an anomaly, and I don't think that can be repeated and expected to be repeated by other guys. But at the end of the day, some of these dudes just do have to prepare more naturally, and there might be some people that are a little, again, I use the word perturbed, that Carlos Correa missed basically 2 months and, maybe milked an injury a little longer than anticipated, and now he's back and he's upset with the production when he missed 2 months. I don't sense that there's a rift in the Twins clubhouse, but when you're losing like this, when you're failing to score runs to the biggest culprit of this entire thing, in my opinion, has been the offense in terms of the slide. Yes, Rocco has made some bad pitching changes. There's been some questionable decisions from the managerial and from coaching staff, regardless, that have cost them games. But I think the biggest chunk of pie that has led to this part of the season over the last 5 weeks has been the offense falling off a cliff. And I would hope not that doesn't cause some type of rift, but Carlos Correa is going to be the one that speaks for that clubhouse. And even with some of the things that have some extra baggage there with Correa, I, as even just a baseball fan, would definitely still default to Correa's words and comments before taking them as, I think, who are you to judge or who are you to say how I should prepare to?
Yeah, and to your point about him coming back from injury and maybe not being satisfied with the offense and production while he was absent there, I mean, related to your normal everyday work. If you work in an office setting and you say, hey guys, I'm taking me and the family, we're going to the Bahamas. I'll be back.
I'll jump up like that.
Yeah, exactly. But you leave.
Yeah.
You leave, and Jim is the guy that said, "Hey, Jim, you are next in line. I need you to take care of a couple things here while I'm out. It's not super hard, but it can be a lot of work if you don't take care of it. You come back and there's a pile of emergency, all this stuff. Jim, what happened? Well, I decided to just do my own job. I decided to not probably step up and help you there, and that's where for like normal people that I can understand where that is somewhat frustrating.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, just like you as being like a mid-level person in an office, you're not the entire team. Like, it should not crash and burn just because one person leaves. Some people are obviously more important than others. Carlos Correa is one of those people. When he's healthy, this team is better. But when he's gone and absent, it was a pretty long absence, but it's just stuff shouldn't crash and burn when he's not in the lineup. And that seemed to be, in a part, what it was. And now you're kind of struggling in this later part of the season where for us as fans, you see the high percentage. You mentioned 90 and some chance odds of making the playoffs. Even like a week or two ago, it was like, well, they got about an 86% chance of wrapping up that wild card spot. Now they're playing from behind. Now You need some stuff to go your way, and nobody likes to be behind the eight ball, because that really shows you whether or not you have that calm and composure. This team, they played from behind right out of the gate here this season. They battled injuries. It seemed like they were finally getting into a spot where they were putting other teams behind the eight ball. They got the tiebreakers against some of those really important key teams, and all of a sudden now it's like, well, hey, we're right back by that pocket, and the eight ball is right there. So it's, the frustration in the comments boiling over. I get it. You have a small handful of games left. What is it, like 4 now? 5 now? 5?
Yep, 5.
You got to put all that aside, bear down, and it's not like your destiny is not in your own control anymore. But you got to do everything in your power to make sure that you win as many of these games as possible. And I think, to what you said right at the top, it's probably going to have to take the 4, but 5, just win out.
Yeah.
But the problem with saying that is I have no faith in this team that they can win 3 of these games even.
Right.
And that's another conversation completely. But it's this whole situation, Dex, to put it about as bluntly as I can, it stinks. This whole situation stinks.
It's stinky. As of this afternoon, too, Seattle won. So right now the Twins and the Mariners are tied before the Twins result that will take place Wednesday night. So the Twins could potentially be behind Seattle now. The Twins have the tiebreaker against Seattle. But, basically your math here, if you're a Twins fan, is you need to go 4-1. Let's say if it is 4-1. That means Detroit or Kansas City are going to have to play 2 games worse than you. So will Detroit and Kansas City only win 2 more games the rest of the way? And if the Twins went 4-1, now if they went 5-0, those other teams could still win 3 games. The Twins would still be able to leapfrog them. But again, that's hope. That's not really they've played themselves out of the playoff spot there. So there's some hope and not just strategy involved, which will make things difficult. Roster wise, Matt Wallner's season probably done. He was put on the injured list today. He pinched hit yesterday, and on the first swing, he noticed something weird in his oblique. He ended up striking out in that at bat and having to be pulled from the game afterwards. And it turned out that he's going on the injured list with an oblique, so the Twins will be without Matt Wallner now for the rest of the season, which is obviously a huge buzzkill. He's actually been probably the most stable part of the Twins' shaky lineup over the last month plus, so that's a big loss for them. Austin Martin has been recalled from AAA St. Paul, so he'll take his spot on the roster. Also, Justin Topa, the arm that was acquired in the Jorge Polanco trade, the healthy arm. Well, at first we thought it was the healthy arm. He has missed 98% of the season. He will make his season debut likely tonight, I think, against the Miami Marlins. He was activated off the injured list. It was first a knee, then it was shoulder, and now he's healthy and active and good to go and gets to show the Twins a little something. We'll see what happens there with Topa, but Justin Topa back. Also, Jorge Alcala has returned from St. Paul, so some reinforcements to the bullpen, but it does come at the cost of Matt Wallner being shelved for the rest of the year, which is a big buzzkill because I thought he made some of the biggest improvements for the Twins all season, and now the Twins will be without him going forward for the rest of these 5 games.
would it be the most Minnesota Twins thing ever for, especially to sum up this season, for Justin Topa to finally get healthy, make his debut, and it's just an absolute stinker of performance, and that really, I mean, you can still win the Final Four, but that puts a really big fork in this Twins season. For those Twins fans, including myself, that maybe from the original hype with the trade and the acquisition, forgot exactly what Justin Topa does bring to the mound. Can you maybe fill me and those people in? Is he is he a heater type of guy? Does he like to mix in the off speed? Is he more of a ground ball, flat ball pitcher? Like, what's the repertoire on a guy like Topa?
A lot of weak ground balls. That was what his MO was last year with the M's. He's not going to necessarily generate a ton of swing and misses, but he will generate incredibly weak contact. Last year in barrel percentage, he was in the 97th percentile for pitchers, which meant most times players were coming up, they were not barreling on him. He had a 94 percentile ground ball rate, so a lot of worm burners, I believe, is what they call, and I believe Rocco even calls it baseball death when you get pull side ground balls from the righty or lefty side. I don't expect like flame throwing and swing and miss stuff like you see from Duran or from Griffin Jacks, but this was a guy who was probably thought to be maybe like the second or third best option in the Twins bullpen when they acquired him from Seattle. And again, he wasn't able to pitch all season, but we'll see what he has here today. But to your point, it would be very poetic, very poetic to not just have a meltdown, but let's just say, God willing, the Twins do have a lead in the 7th inning, and here comes Justin Topa, and the wheels come off. That would be, I think, the cherry on top for this season. That Topa, who Patrick Royce says, he exists. I didn't know he was a real person. He actually exists. There's a body, Justin Topa. He does exist. So, yes, I think that'd be the cherry on top. But we'll see what he can bring to the Twins bullpen. That bullpen's been depleted. They've had to throw random guys in there. Justin Topa is the latest guy to at least be added to it, which is good. Jorge Alcala, who has shown signs at times of being a very dominant reliever. I know he had a bad month here before being demoted to St. Paul, but there are some reinforcements there. Chris Paddock, too, I believe will throw one more bullpen tomorrow before determining if he can come back. Mm-hmm. They got some reinforcements coming.
Let me throw this hypothetical by you. Topa gets the nod, and we have any sort of pitch regulation. I mean, the guy's arm should be more than healthy. He should have more stamina than anybody else. But if we go out there and he can't finish an inning or something along those lines, he can't go out there for one more batter and then get pulled for a better matchup. I'm going to lose my mind, Declan. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm sick at this stage of the year. Analytics, they only take you so far. You need to bear down and just go with your gut. Rocco, other coaching staff, let's get some wins because your season is now on the brink. Terrible Disney-com movie, but decent drink. So when it comes to this season, you need to go ahead and I just go with your gut here the rest of the way. If I hear about pitch regulation and saving arms and looking forward to the final game where we're going to have to save this guy, blah blah. What did Royce say a couple weeks ago? You can't worry about October. You got to worry about a Tuesday night, Wednesday night.
That's right.
It's a terrible Royce impression.
No, that's okay. It takes a long time to master the Royce. I don't.
Yeah, you're there. I'll get there at some point.
Well, yeah, I mean that. So we'll see what happens tonight with the Twins. Interesting comments by Carlos Correa. We'll see if these young players can continue to step up, and with the Twins having 5 games left, needing to basically play 2 games better than the teams in front of them, and Seattle also winning today adds more pressure to that. It feels like a death march. It sucks. Like it really does suck. Like especially because it's a long year. And, the entire players are grinding to get off to the poor start, and then they have like a 4-month stretch where they're legitimately a top 5 team in baseball. And for it to end like this, I'm not saying this isn't White Sox bad, like because that season was over on April 10th. But
what was opening day?
Yeah, March 29th. But man, it stings when you were basically in control of a playoff spot for 95% of the year, maybe 90% of the year. And for it to go down like this, it does stink. Hey, we'll see. I mean, if there's changes, I don't know if changes will be on the horizon. I know the Twins would announce those soonish if that were to happen. I don't see that happening. But stick around to the SKOR North Twins Show. Any breaking news, anything that does happen, we'll be ready to cover it here. Mackie Judd, myself, Trevor Plouffe Tuesdays, AJ Ross, the bullpen, the whole 9 yards there. We'll be ready to cover it if it does.
Let me ask you this. Like you said, it's a death march, and I think you, myself, the people in the live chat here on the YouTube live stream, make sure to like, subscribe, bell notifications, and all that stuff if you haven't yet. What could happen tonight? A crooked number, lights out pitching performance, a combo of both. What is something that lifts your spirits and maybe turns that page back a little bit more and is like, you know what? Maybe they could do it. Maybe they're a team of destiny. How many runs do we need, both for and limited to?
Ass kicking, like a 10-1 win.
Okay.
Like and that doesn't like get me excited. It's just like, oh, okay. They throttled a team that has 99 losses. So yes, just a butt kicking. Now a lot of people could say like, hey, they can't hit with anyone in regard to scoring position. I'll take 4 or 5 runs, and yeah, that's probably the better mark. But just throttling down against a team that has 99 losses, that's what I would like to see here.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I needed a blowout.
Yep.
Like, you can allow 2 at most, and maybe one's like a solo shot because a guy missed a pitch, because they have 99 losses, but they're still a professional baseball team. Exactly. They have some quality players. They have to. Like, they're not at this stage if they're not, besides the White Sox. But you need to put up double digits. You need to cruise. There has to be that energy of the second the first pitch is thrown out, we are in control of this game. That's Absolutely. The biggest thing. Because you can, last night, I had mentioned before we started up, I was at Zora Darling for a show, and you go out, you come out, look at the bar. It's like, okay, it's not a great sign. But just on like the recent stretch of games, I don't think anybody that was at the venue that came out to check the score with me, there wasn't any belief of like, oh, they're going to come back. They can make this work. It was like, oh, okay, they're already down, game over. Let's go back and see the next band. So I need something that tells me we are in control. We are going to finish out this series, and then we're going to beat the crap out of the Orioles when they come to town, because they have that spot locked up. Fingers crossed that if the Twins are still kicking and screaming by that point, there's a B squad type of team where they're just, looking to get to the postseason. Still, maybe the motor's on, but they're not necessarily leaving the driveway.
Absolutely. So hit the like button, subscribe button. We'll see if the motor leaves the driveway today at Target Field, 1 Twins Way. Appreciate everyone listening, watching, and subscribing to the SKOR North Twins Show. Talk at you guys soon.